Today we'll be reading from El's Holy Tehillim, also called the Book of Zabur or Psalms, written by the Master Teacher. This is the story format of the Scroll of Psalms, which is easy reading and understanding that is necessary in this day and time to enlighten people on the path to truth about the Bible and the three monotheistic religions, namely Mosesism, Christism and Mohammedism. The Book of Psalms has 150 chapters, of which 73 chapters were received by David in the year 10,037 BCE in the valley of Elah in the land of Judah. David, son of Jesse and Hilma, lived for 70 years because he was given 70 years of his life from Adam or Cadmon, son of Autumn and Lilith. David was born in Bethlehem. As a child, he took care of his father's flock, Psalms 78, 70-72. The Book of Psalms was revealed in Aramaic Hebrew language. 2 books were received by Solomon, 12 to the sons of Korah, 1 to Asaph, 1 to Heman, 1 to Ethan, and 1 to Moses, which was kept in Ethiopia. The Egyptian prophet Akhenaten, son of Amenhotep III, and Ti, also possessed the Psalms, which he received in the Hamito-Semitica language as mentioned in El's Holy Quran, chapter 37, 42-44, and chapter 52. The Book of Psalms, as found in the Old Testament, is not a book of revelation as El's Holy Quran, which was revealed to the Arabian prophet of the Muslims, Muhammad, by the messenger Gabriel in Laylat el-Qadri, the night of power, El's Holy Quran, chapter 25, 1-3, and the laws, Exodus and Leviticus of the Israelites, which were revealed to Moses, the Elohim, Exodus 7:1, or the Book of Wisdom, which was revealed to the prophet Luqman, or the Book of Generations, which was revealed to the Elohim Abraham, Genesis 23:6, who was given a Torah before Moses as mentioned in Genesis 26:5, etc. All of these scriptures are called in Aramaic Hebrew Sefer, or Assyric Arabic Sifr, and means scroll, a book or writing, or a great large tome, one of the books in a work of several volumes. David said in Psalms 47, "Lo, I come in the volume of the book Sefer, it is written of me." And the Aramaic Hebrew word used in this quote is sefer, meaning scroll, which sometimes measured 25 to 30 feet of papyrus, which was used in ancient times for inscribing. All of these scriptures came down by way of the angelic being or Anunnaki Gabriel, or Nusku Zadok, who is the messenger. The Book of Psalms, as found in the Old Testament, is a book of songs, which is oftentimes thought to be divine. In Dyke's commentary, page 618, it states, "In studying these requests, it can be seen how few concern God and his will. Most of them concern man and his begging to get out of trouble." Some of the songs of Psalms speak about the stories of David's life. David was not only a warrior, he was also a lecher, a thief, a murderer, and a bandit. So the Book of Psalms speaks about his crucifixion, Psalms chapter 22, the revolt of Absalom against David, Psalms 3, David's adultery with Bathsheba, and murder of her husband Uriah, Psalms 51, the anointment of David, Psalms 89:20, etc. Although other stories speak about the different trials and tribulations of the Israelites, Psalms chapter 105, their disobedience in worshipping other deities, graven images, or their Bahmor, meaning high places, Psalms 78:58, the creation story, Psalms 148, the conquest of Jerusalem, Psalms 76, etc. The Book of Psalms is the book most commonly used by the Rastafarians today because it mentions the name Jah 38 times, and this is where they get the term Jah Rastafari from. The other books that mentions the name Jah is Exodus 15:2, 17:16, Isaiah 12:2, 26:4, 38:11, and make note that in Isaiah 12:2 it says, "For the Lord Yah, Jehovah, Yahuwah is my strength and my song," which is making it clear that the name Yah and Yahuwah are one in the same. There are two kinds of Rastafarians. One group is known for the amount of marijuana, also called ganja or reefer, that they smoke, and the other group are who are considered the real Rastafarians, who live in mountains and practice a pure way of life. They refer to these who sell drugs and smoke marijuana and hashish as rascals. There are some Rastafarians who think they are Nazarites. The word Nazarite comes from the Aramic Hebrew word Nazir, meaning consecrated or devoted one, which comes from the root word Nazar, meaning separate, dedicate, consecrate. In Ashuric Arabic it is Nadhir, coming from the root word Nadhara, meaning to dedicate, consecrate, to vow, make a vow, to make a solemn pledge. So when you become a Nazarite, you separate yourself to Yahuwah, as mentioned in the book of Judges 13:5, referring to Samson, where it states, "For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head, for the child shall be a Nazarite, Nazir, unto God from the womb." The Nazarites were dedicated to the service of the Most High. The Essenes who lived in Jordan in a place called Qumran lived as Nazarites, separating themselves from the big Jerusalem, which they considered corrupted, and formed their own community, living according to the strict Judaic laws. According to a clipping from Vendel Jones Research Institute researcher, it says, Professor Robert Eisenman had suggested that the word Essene is derived from a Hebrew word Yishim or Yesites. Indeed, if he is correct, then the word Essene should not be expected to have a Greek derivative. It is more logical to assume that their Essene or Yishim name was derived from their belief. The Essenes are called by many names, such as Magi, the elders, the wise men, Hanif, etc. Communities of the Essenes were set up all around the world, but were linked together as one. It is said that archaeologists have found between Jericho, Masada and Qumran a community type of living in an oasis. Upon finding the Dead Sea Scrolls between the years of 1951 and 1956, which is available today on CD-ROM, proving all the prophecies of the Book of Revelation of the past, present and future, the Essenes followed the laws of the Nazarites, and the laws of the Nazarites are mentioned in Numbers 6, 2-21. The Nazarites followed such laws as abstaining from strong drink, Judges 13:14 and Luke 1:15, not marring the corners of their beards, Leviticus 19:27, etc. The Rastafarians use Ezekiel 42:20 to justify their wearing dreadlocks, and I quote, "Neither shall they shave their heads, nor suffer their locks to grow long. They should only poll their heads." The Aramaic Hebrew word used in this quote for poll is the root word kakam, which means to cut, clip, to trim, to shear. This is in reference to keeping the excess hair growth neat and intact. If you choose to wear dreadlocks, which is really called locks, such as the locks of Samson, Judges 16:19, Ezekiel 8:3, Solomon, Songs of Solomon 5:2, etc., in your hair, it is your business. However, you should keep it neat, not matted, and take care of them. Refer to scroll 182, the Family Guide. Although there are different groups of Rastafarians, they all believe in Jah Rastafari, from Jah or Yah, which is mentioned in the Book of Psalms 68:4, 68:18, 77:11, 89:8, 94:7, 94:12, 102:18, 104:35, 105:45, and 106:1, etc. And they all use the Book of Psalms. This book is also used by the Christians. The title of this book, Psalms, in Aramaic Hebrew is Mizmor, meaning song, poem, which comes from the root word zamar, meaning to sing, sing praise. In the Hebrew Bible, the Aramaic Hebrew title used for this book is Tehillim, meaning praises, which comes from the Aramaic Hebrew root word halal, meaning to praise. The rabbinical literature refers to the Book of Psalms as Sefer Tehillim. The Septuagint names it the Psaltery, from where the Vulgate gets its name, Psalterium, Liber Salmorum from. The English calls this book the Psalter, which is a stringent instrument, a harp, in which the Middle English gets their title Psalter. This book is one of the most common used books of the Bible. The Ashuric Arabic word used for Psalms is Al-Zabur, or the Psalms of David. The word comes from the Ashuric Arabic root word Zabara, meaning to inscribe or engrave upon stones. He wrote a writing or a book. He wrote it firmly, skillfully, or well. Also Zibran, which means a writing. It also comes from the root word Zabara, meaning to scold. The word Psalms in Hebrew, Syriac, and Ethiopic has the same meaning, song or chant. The Mohammedans use it out of context. They use the word Zabur as for other books, such as mentioned in the Quran 54:52, where it says, "All that they do is noted in their books of deeds." It also appears in the Quran in 9 other places, such as Quran 3:184, 4:163, 16:44, 17:55, 21:105, 26:196, 35:25, 54:43, and 54:52. And under the general meaning of books or scriptures, Quran 3:184 and 26:196, and the specific Psalms 4:163, or sacred books, Quran 54:43. Quran 54:52. All that they do is noted in their books of deeds. Mistranslation for Abdullah Yusuf Ali. Quran 4:163. And to David we give the Psalms. Mistranslation for Abdullah Yusuf Ali. Now, if the Quran of the Arabians is supposed to be the facts beyond a shadow of a doubt, according to the Quran 2:1, and according to the Yusuf Muhammad Ali Quran 4:163, it states, and I quote, "And to David we give the Psalms," and Quran chapter 17 verse 55, where it states, and I quote, "And we give to David the gift of the Psalms." If these quotes above from the Quran is indeed the facts beyond a shadow of doubt, as you Mohammedans claim, then how is it that certain chapters were given to Solomon, 2 Samuel 5:14, the sons of Korah, Numbers 26:9-11, Asaph, Ezra 2:41, Heman, 1 Kings 4:31, Ethan, 1 Chronicles 15:19, and one was attributed to the Elohim Moses, Exodus 2:10, and 48 chapters appear without names. How is it when, according to your Quran, if you turn to Quran chapter 2 verse 2, it states, and I quote, "This, Dalika," meaning that, "is the book, Kitab. In it is guidance sure, without la, doubt, Reba, to those who fear God." The whole Psalms is not the Book of David. It is called the Book of David when the entire book was not written by him, just as the Torah is called the Book of Moses when the entire book was not given to him. Read scroll 174, El's Holy Torah. And the Book of Revelation is said to have been revealed to Jesus, but it was recorded by John in 96 AD in the island of Patmos. Read scroll 174, El's Holy Injil, and given to Jesus, Quran 1930, and they use the Ashuric Arabic word atani, meaning give me, al-kitab, meaning the scripture. There were various other men who wrote sections of this book. Out of the 150 titles of Psalms, 73 were written by the prophet David. But since the majority of the book of Psalms were given to David, it is called the Book of David, just as the Torah is called the Book of Moses, when he only received the laws, Exodus and Leviticus. Some Bible dictionaries, such as the New Bible Dictionary, on page 992 claims, Davidic authorship of many of the Psalms has often been denied, principally on the ground that David, the psalmist of popular belief, bears no resemblance to David the warrior of the books of Samuel and Kings. The book of Samuel's, 1 Samuel's and 2 Samuel's, as mentioned above, is the writings of the prophet Samuel, son of Elkanah and Kannah, who was another saviour, Judges 13:5. The book of Samuel was written in 1077 BCE, 1 Samuel's, and 1040 BCE, 2 Samuel's. The book of Samuel 1 and 2 speaks about the stories of the time of David. Many people think that the stories are within the book of Psalms, but as mentioned before, the book of Psalms is just a book of songs sung by David and his choir. The prophet Samuel, 1 Samuel 3:20, was the prophet which anointed David as the next successor over the ruler Saul in 1 Samuel 16:13. Also the book of 1 Kings chapters 1 to 2 and 10, which speaks of David on his dying bed, is the same son of Jesse and Hilma, 1 Kings 12:16 and 1 Chronicles 29:26, which plays the harp, Psalms 43:4. And make note that the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary claims that Jesse, whose name means Jah, relates to Jesus the Christ, which is not true. Now let's examine this closely. According to your King James Version of the Bible, in 1 Samuel 16:16, it states, and I quote, "Let out, Lord, now command thy servants, which are before thee, to seek out a man who is a cunning player on the harp." Now, if you go down a little further in 1 Samuel 16:18, it states, and I quote, again from the King James Version of your Bible, "Then answered one of the servants and said, Behold, I have seen a son of Jesse, the Bethlehemite, that is cunning in playing, and a mighty valiant man, and a man of war, and prudent in matters, and a comely person, and the Lord is with him." This quote alone shows you that there is no distinction between David the warrior and David the harp player. Now let's go down to 1 Samuel 16:19, where it states, and I quote, "Wherefore Saul sent messengers unto Jesse, and said, Send me David thy son, Bane, which is with the sheep." 1 Samuel 16:23 also states, and I quote, "And it came to pass, when the evil spirit from God was upon Saul, that David took on a harp, and played with his hands. So Saul was refreshed, and was well, and the evil spirit departed from him." Again, this is not making any form of distinction. Now, if you also look at Psalms 72:20, it states, and I quote, "The prayers of David the son Bane of Jesse are ended." In Psalms 18:34, where it states, and I quote, "He teacheth my hand to war." David is depicted as a man of war. Also in Psalms 144:1 it states, and I quote, "Blessed be the Lord Yahuwah, my strength, which teacheth my hands to do war, and my fingers to fight." The same son of Jesse, who was ruler over the kingdom of Israel, 1 Samuel 16:1 and 2 Samuel 3:5-6, is also taught by Yahuwah himself about war and fighting. 2 Samuel 23:1. Now, these are the last words of David the beloved. David the beloved, the son of Jesse, he will save, and Hilma uttered, and the anointed Messiah of the Elo of Jacob, supplanter, and the pleasant singer of Israel uttered. Right translation in Aramaic Hebrew by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Does these quotes above look like they're making a separation between the two Davids, the man of war, and the psalmist or the harp player? No. Don't be fooled. These rabbinical scholars, preachers, imams know what they're doing. They are misguiding you, but I deal only with the facts, right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding. Refer to Holy Tablets chapter 13. This story format of Psalms is taken from my Dr. Malachi Z. York, complete word-for-word transliteration from the original ancient Aramaic Hebrew. I came about translating the scroll of Psalms after studying and translating the Atrahasis tablets from the cuneiform language, the Enuma Elish tablets also from cuneiform, and Akkadian tablets, all of which are from the Sumer period, thousands of years before the Hebrew Bible Torah. I have put Psalms into a simple English translation. Many different translations of the Bible have people thinking that the Bible was divinely sent by some single mystical God, big G God, the initial case G, or God the lowercase g. Refer to scroll 66, God, God, or God. What's the difference? Name Jehovah, Yahweh, or Allah, who resides up in heaven somewhere that their scholars can't explain, telling them to just have faith, and if you don't, you're a devil or an evil person. When in fact the Bible, of course, was plagiarized from Sumer tablets by men, and the Quran, which was copied from the Bible, was also the works of men in order to create religion to control the masses. Knowledge of the original languages is necessary because people need to have some type of right knowledge of the original Aramaic Hebrew language to actually know the difference between the true meanings of words in the Bible and the Quran, from which was added into them. The spellbinding people into believing in a being who cannot see, hear, or touch, or smell, and does nothing for them. They are just supposed to wait until they die to really meet him and suffer on the planet Earth. Then they will have paradise with all the things they wished for while they lived here on planet Earth that they could have gotten with some hard work. Refer to the God series and Scroll 163, The Mysteries of God Revealed. Just like the Mohammedans in their Quran, all that it had promised the desert Arabs for 1400 years, living in the hot, lifeless desert, you can now have all of it right here on earth in the Western world. The Quran is outdated. That's why it's time for me to renew it. Every 25,000 years there is a renewal, and to put it out in its original order as El's Holy Quran. They speak about heaven in the Quran, which is promised to the Mohammedans of the desert Arabs, but their heaven you can obtain here on earth, just like Hugh Hefner's mansion. Just look at the life of the rich and famous. You have maids working around serving Hugh and his guests the best of the best fruits, the finest grapes, the purest milk, the sweetest honey, and a variety of other foods, as found in Quran 47:15, Quran 78:32, and Quran 16:11. Then when you look around his mansion, there are beautiful trees and a variety of different flowers all about, as found in Quran 16:67 and 36:34. Then Hugh has a flowing river that runs through his whole house, with a glass transparent floor running out through a cave, as found in Quran 2:25. Then there are Saudi Arabian kings and princes who have yachts and private jets and golden houses that look like paradise, or would be paradise to the poor average Arabian or nomad of the desert who has nothing but tea and bread and a tent and a camel and his sheep to go home to daily. Yes, this Quran's paradise would be paradise to them because they don't possess all this on earth. But to the rich person that already has all the luxuries that they want while on earth, what kind of paradise is promised for them? Would you have to make a king suite paradise, like when you go to a hotel and everybody is trying to get the king suite? There would have to be an exception for the rich people who already have paradise on earth. So as you can see, there are some of the things that the Quran has promised that it is written for the poor desert Arabs, not you. But how will they know what they would call paradise is not facts and real? Because no one has ever come back from the dead to confirm it. No Jew, Hebrew, or Christian or Mohammedan. And this is what their God or Allah or Yahweh or Jehovah promised them. That is who they're calling Allah. Your teachers, leaders, rabbis, pastors, reverends, ministers, scholars, sheikhs and imams do not have this type of knowledge of the original languages and scripts that the scriptures such as the Book of Psalms was originally revealed in order to be able to show you the difference between the truth and the lies. That's why I, Dr. Malachi Z. York, the Supreme Grand Master, the Reformer for this day and time, have translated the El's Holy Torah, the Bible, the El's Holy Quran, the Quran or Quran, El's Holy Injil, the Book of Revelations, and El's Holy Zabur, the Psalms, to give you a better understanding of what you have blindly put your trust and belief into for years, centuries, and even longer. I came to right the wrong. Please wake up before it's too late. The Book of Psalms is broken up into 5 sections. Chapters 1 to 41, chapters 42 to 72, chapters 73 to 89, 90 to 106, and 107 to 150, which many claim corresponds with the so-called 5 books of Moses. The Book of Psalms only has 150 chapters, even though the Greek numbers has it as having 151 chapters. When reading the text of Psalms in the English King James Version or the New Revised Standard Version, some of the verses do not coincide with the Hebrew because of the titles for that particular chapter. For example, let's look at the different versions of Psalms chapter 4 verse 1. King James Version, Psalms 4:1. To the chief musician on Neginoth, a Psalms of David, hear me when I call, O God of my righteousness, thou hast enlarged me when I was in distress. Have mercy upon me and hear my prayer. New Revised Standard Version, Psalms 4:1. To the leader with stringed instruments, a Psalms of David, answer me when I call, O God of my right. You give me room when I was in distress. Be gracious to me and hear my prayer. American Standard Version, Psalms 4:1. Answer me when I call, O God of my righteousness. Thou hast set me at large when I was in distress. Have mercy upon me and hear my prayer. Now, if you look at the Aramic Hebrew version of Psalms 4:1, you will see that the first verse is only the title of the chapter. This would make Psalms chapter 4 have 9 verses instead of 8 verses. This is found throughout many chapters of this book, such as Psalms chapters 3 to 9, Psalms chapters 11 to 32, Psalms chapters 34 to 32, and Psalms chapters 44 to 48, and I can go on and on. Again, this is a blatant mistake in a so-called untampered book. My point is, the version of the Bible that you're using, be it the King James Version, the American Standard Version, or the New Revised Version, or the Greek LXX, etc., cannot be the correct version because first, it's not the original language in which it was revealed, in Aramaic Hebrew or Ashuric-Syriac Arabic. The English language is not the native language, and none of the scriptures were revealed in the English language because English is not even a language. It's a graftation of different languages put together. The fact is, your pastors, rabbis or imams don't even research the words to find out their meanings. And if they do not inform you because they need your money for the Cadillacs and mansions that they live in. Hardly anyone ever questions what words, languages or dialects the scriptures they're holding or using were written in. Nor do they question their preachers, pastors, imams or rabbis who cannot fluently speak or translate that particular language word for word. For almost 25 years I stood up in front and was questioned. And then I would say, now go ask your pastor or reverend the same question and see if he could answer it. Now it's time for you to ask your reverend or your sheikh or your imam about the authenticity of what he's teaching you. They can't give you no answers because they don't have any. The average preacher or imam or pastor doesn't know how to read the original languages of the scriptures that they read. Also, the dictionaries or encyclopedias, etc., that has been written supposedly to aid you make up words and are defined in any way. People don't know what they're up against, so they take what is in these dictionaries written by a man named Webster or encyclopedia reference books to be true. This is another way that your thought patterns are being controlled, because the spell of Leviathan is in how you spell. It is all webbed, the web, in or tied in, which is the same thing that happens when you read the scriptures if you do not overstand, or should I simply say overstand the languages. Refer to scroll 96, What is God's Language? Many of the 150 Psalms are in praise of Yahuwah for his gifts and mercies. At one time, they formed the whole part of the worship exercises of the children of Israel. Some Psalms were prayers for the forgiveness of David's people as well as for himself, because David was a tyrant to his people, and he was not going according to the Judaic laws. At times, that's why when Absalom died, his own tribe, the tribe of Judah, did not want to accept him back, as mentioned in 2 Samuel 19:11-14. He had to reason with them. This brought about envy between the tribe of Judah and other tribes of Israel, as mentioned in 2 Samuel 19:41-43. Other parts of Psalms were joyous expressions that were chanted with musical instruments on festive occasions. In other words, Psalms covered a range of man's feelings in his relationships with Yahuwah. The Psalms represented an important part of the Old Testament. Many of them possess a deep prophetic quality. It is used by religions such as Christianity, Judaism and Islam, the three main monotheistic religions of the world, and make note that many quotes from the book of Psalms were taken and copied into the books of the New Testament 36 times and referred to 55 other times, which they most commonly refer to Jesus, such as Psalms 2:7, which says, Thou art my son, this day I have begotten thee, which was copied and plagiarized into Acts 13:33, which says, God hath fulfilled the same unto us their children, and that he have raised up Jesus again, as it is also written in the second Psalm, Thou art my son, this day I have begotten thee. And make note that Acts 13:33 clearly tells you it was copied into the New Testament, and they say from 2nd Psalms. So this is just to point out to you that the New Testament is not an authentic book. It was copied and plagiarized from the Old Testament, which was also copied and plagiarized from the Enuma Elish and the Adrahasis. The Quran of the Arabian prophet Muhammad was also copied from Jewish folklore, others from Christian stories, and even others from Egyptian Coptic stories, such as the story of the raven coming to Cain and Abel in Quran 5:27-32. According to Dr. Anis Shorosh, the story came from ancient Jewish tradition, AD 150-200, preserved by Purak Rabbi Eliezer. Also, the second Targum of Esther, which dates back to the 2nd century AD, 400 years before the Quran, is found to be the source of Quran 27:17-44. There is also a controversial issue on which language the Book of Psalms was revealed in. Many scholars claim that the Book of Psalms was written in Sanskrit, Babylonian, Assyrian, Egyptian, and Syrian. The rabbis claim to have an Aramaic Hebrew manuscript version, and according to the Judaica Encyclopedia, it states, in 1962, Psalm scrolls were found in the Qumran district cave 11:4. 3 of 5 apocryphal were Syrian Psalms. Like I stated before, the original language of the Old Testament was Aramaic Hebrew, so the Hebrew Psalms was written in the ancient Aramaic Hebrew language, which came from the cuneiform language. Cuneiform was a spoken as well as a written language. From this language came Adamic, which later became the languages Assyric-Syriac and Aramic. Aramic was the language of the Arameans, the descendants of Aram, the 5th son of Shem and Fatin, Genesis 10:22. The fact that the language was named Aram after him proves that he was a leader, a chief of a mighty man in his tribe. When a dialect evolved, it was usually named after the most powerful or outstanding member of the tribe or clan. In this case, it was Aram. The country which Aram settled in appears in Genesis 24:10 and Psalms 61 as Aram Naharaim, meaning Aram highland of the 2 rivers. It was named this because it was located between the 2 rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, referred to the scroll 27 first language. The Arameans, who were also Syrians, were such productive traders that their language, called Aramic, spread quickly throughout the nations. It became the language of the common people in Babylonia, where Abraham lived, being from Ur of Chaldea, Genesis 11:31, traveling into the Near East Asia. Isaiah 36:11 in part states, Then said Echilim, the son of Hilkiah, and Shebna, and Joah to Rabshakeh, Speak to your servants in the Aramic, for we understand it, and do not speak to us in the Jews' language, in the presence of the people who are on the wall. As you can see from the above quote, the Aramaic, the language of the Arameans, or the Syrians as they were called in the Greek language, became the preferred language. Therefore, Aramic was the name of the language. And this rendered Syriac. Aramic and Syriac are one and the same. These 2 languages, Assyric, which came the Syriac dialect, and Aramic, are the sources from which all the other dialects of the scriptures came from. The first set of languages after Adamic, Hindu Farsi, were found in the one general area, the Persian Gulf today. Syriac, meaning successful, the mother of all languages, came from Ashur, Genesis 10:11. Arabic is the nearest dialect to Assyric-Syriac. Arabic comes from the word Arab, meaning wandering the desert. The Arab language came out of Joktan's sons. This seed became known as the Arabs, and their tongue was Arabic. Refer to the first language, scroll 27, and What is God's Language, scroll 96. Ancient Syriac gave birth to what is known today as modern Arabic. The word Arabic is derived from the word Araba, meaning vehicle or mobile. The noun Arab is a title that was first associated with Ishmael, who was Abraham's first son by his wife Hathor, the Egyptian deity also known as Hagar, Genesis 16:15-16. the dialect that Ishmael began to speak became known as Arabic, but it was Chaldean from Ur of Chaldea, as his father spoke, and Mitzrayim from Cam or Kemek, which his mother spoke. Ishmael and his mother Hagar settled in the desert area of the wilderness of Beersheba, Genesis 21:14-33, which is known as the Arabian Desert. The area that Ishmael settled in became marked as one of the holiest places on earth, and the people became known as Ishmaelites. The Aramean Hebrew dialect, which they originally spoke, became broken into even more dialects. The Aramean script took a drastic change and became Syriac Arabic. Syriac Arabic and Aramic Hebrew are the same dialects with more exaggerations. It's like two people speaking the same language but being from two different locations. For example, if someone lives in New York and speaks English and meets up with someone from Jamaica, West Indies, both these people speak the English language, but the environment in which they live caused their accent, terminologies and expressions to take a change. This is the same case with the Aramic Hebrew tongue, which through migration gave birth to Syriac Arabic expressions. Syriac Arabic and Aramic Hebrew are very similar. If you do your research, you will see that in your Bible, under the word Syrian, under Strong's number 0761, you will find the word Aramean, Arami, meaning one, a thing, or a person from Syria, Aram. Aramean comes from the root word Aram, found under Strong's number 0758 as Aram, meaning highland. And if you look closely, you will also find 1, Aram, Syria, the nation, 2, the Syrian Aramean people. My point is, if sections of the Book of Psalms were revealed in the Syrian language, it would still be the Aramean or Aramic language because they are one in the same language. To further prove this, if you look in 2 Kings 18:26, you will see the word Syrian, and if you look under its Strong's number 0762, you will find the word Aramith, meaning one, the language of the Aram, Aramaic. Aram, Syria, the land. Aramean, Syrian, the people. Aramaic, Syriac, the language. Aramaic and Syriac are one in the same. So no, the Book of Psalms was not written in the Sanskrit, Babylonian or Assyrian, etc. language. It was written in the Aramaic Hebrew language, and it was not only revealed to David in 1037 BCE, as I stated earlier. Sections of the Book of Psalms were given to other men besides David, although he received a large portion of it. Clarke's commentary by Adam Clarke, Book of Job Malachi, pages 208 states, several of the fathers, both Greek and Latin, maintain that David is the author of the whole Book of Psalms, and although they allow that several of them speak of times most obviously posterior to David's days, they assert that he is the author of these also, and that he spoke of those events by the spirit of prophecy. The New Unger's Bible Dictionary on page 1049 states, the beginning of each book is marked by PSS 142, 73, 90 and 107. 73 psalms are ascribed to David in the Heb titles. This explains the designation, the Psalms of David, although modern critics such as Otto Eisfeld, Robert Pfeiffer, Julius Brewer and others customarily deny the Davidic authorships of the Psalms. There is ample interval evidence that David, the great poet and musician of Israel, was the principal author of the Psalter. Again, I must stress to you rabbinical scholars that if you knew your language, or if you were to read the Old Testament from its original language, the Aramic Hebrew language, then you would see again that the original title of the Book of Psalms in Aramic Hebrew, Mizmor, meaning song. Psalms 3:1. A song of David the beloved, when he ran away from in front of his son Absalom, my father is peace. Yahuwah, how has my enemies multiplied against me? There are many that rise up against me. Right translation in Aramic Hebrew by Dr. Malachi Z. York. The word Psalms is found in the Book of Psalms 86 times. It does not mean the Psalms of David. The 73 Psalms attributed to David were just that, the Psalms of David. In Psalm 72:20 it states, and I quote, "The prayers of David, the son of Jesse, are ended." and the Aramaic Hebrew word for ended in this quote is kolor, meaning to accomplish, cease, end, finish, be complete, to come to an end, to complete a period of time, to finish doing a thing. And the Aramaic Hebrew word for prayer is tefillor, meaning prayer, in P's titles of poetic liturgical prayer. Psalms 72:20. The prayers of David the beloved, the son of Jesse, he will save, are ended. Right translation in Aramaic Hebrew by Dr. Malachi Z. York. This quote clearly proves that David did not receive the whole book of Psalms. After chapter 22 of Psalms, David received one more chapter, chapter 86. So this makes 77 more chapters in the book of Psalms that is not his. David received his chapters of the book of Psalms in the year 1037 BCE. My translation of Psalms will give you a better understanding because of the section of the right words that have been translated straight from the Aramaic Hebrew, which I have also broken down into more depth and detail, that which was hidden by the creators or the fabricators of religion long before the Bible history ever existed. The original Hebrew with the English Bible translation, you will find that I have brought it a step further and brought it out all of the hidden secrets behind the so-called Holy Bible and the Holy Quran that cannot be seen just by having it sit on your shelf, only to be taken out on Sundays. It has to be thoroughly researched and studied, or else you will remain in ignorance, being misinformed with no true knowledge, wisdom, or overstanding, which will lead you to right knowledge, right wisdom, and a right overstanding of the true Creator and the Master's plan. Here is available for you, verse by verse, a transliteration and translation by myself, Dr. Malachi Z. York, which will help clear up many questions that people have on some of the verses and chapters in the book of Psalms, which are not clearly understood. And I hope this will bring you more inspiration and enthusiasm to want to further understand the truth or lies that are found in the Bible.